Well, thanks so very much, Professor Attila Brunj, Vice-Chancellor here at the University of Technology, Sydney. It's wonderful to be here at UTS with a nice and friendly crowd who are gathered here. To Renee Hindmarsh, the Executive Director of the Australian Technology Network of Universities. Ladies and gentlemen, I too acknowledge the Gadigal people, the traditional owners of these lands, but as the nation's Education Minister, I acknowledge all of Australia's Indigenous owners and traditional owners, and acknowledge that we continue to learn much of their knowledge, much from their knowledge, and as a nation to build upon that knowledge. I'm very pleased to be here today for what is a very important announcement by the ATN universities, an announcement that really builds on and is the heart and complementary to the innovation and science agenda that our government is proud to champion. And in doing so, I bring the best wishes of both my predecessor as Education Minister and the now Innovation, Industry and Science Minister, Christopher Pyne, and importantly the Prime Minister, who is very excited by the types of steps forward that we are seeing from our universities. Because this standardised approach to intellectual property being undertaken by the ATN is a credit to your universities and a demonstration of the leading role that you are taking in research, and more importantly perhaps, the strong partnership that you seek to already have in many instances and are building upon with industry and the other end users of research. Your efforts show that strong industry engagement and excellence do go hand in hand. The 2015 Excellence in Research for Australia report shows ATN universities are performing research of world standard or above in more than 93% of assessed research fields. This is up from 84% in the 2012 era, demonstrating the remarkable gains that are being made as universities respond to the different measurements and different incentives that are there to indeed drive such responsiveness and collaboration. The types of collaborations we see are inspiring in their nature. We have indeed many that have very long periods of history. As Tanya from the University of South Australia would be well aware, the 30-year collaboration between the University of South Australia and private sector partners, brokered and managed by the Australian Mineral Industry Research Association to improve the flotation of minerals in the mining sector, has added more than $1 billion in value to our minerals industry, produced 50 PhDs over the program lifetime, and represents a return of 22 to 1 for every research dollar invested. A very tangible demonstration that ticks almost every box of long-term partnerships, industry collaboration, academic outcomes, but ultimately, of course, wealth to our nation, jobs for Australians, and the type of practical returns that research can deliver. Here at UTS, the Elemental Bioimaging Facility, in collaboration with Agilent Technologies, has improved understandings in diverse areas including marine pollution, diet and health, and neurodegenerative diseases such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and serves as a reminder that it is, of course, when we speak of collaboration, not just collaboration in the sense of for-profit industry that delivers sound economic outcomes, but also a recognition that collaboration can drive improved social policy outcomes as well, from which we may often well derive economic benefits, health savings and the like, but of course collaboration comes in different forms and derives different benefits as a result. A standardised approach to intellectual property across the ATN will do much to strengthen and extend the benefits of university research in our innovation system by promoting and enhancing collaboration with business and increased commercial benefits from research. As many here would know, the review of research policy and funding arrangements, the WAT review, identified intellectual property management as a barrier to improved university business engagement. It recognised, however, that some universities already have in place IP management systems that are working well. The review highlighted submissions from industry partners that indicated some report negotiations can be complex and time-consuming, especially for small and medium enterprises. SMEs, of course, are big players in Australia's economy, yet many do not have the expertise or resources to undertake IP negotiations where these are not straightforward. Some of this, of course, is reality. Some of it, as Attila indicated, is perhaps perception that needs to be changed. The government understands that negotiating ownership of IP, publication rights, and the accurate valuation of IP is not easy, but we also recognise that it can be a real impediment to translating IP into tangible benefits for Australia. That's why we welcome this approach, why the IP principles that are being released today and endorsed by all of the ATN universities are a substantial contribution that will enable better access to research and simplify pathways to commercialisation for industry players. Our National Innovation and Science Agenda, released by Prime Minister Turnbull and Minister Pyne late last year, has reaffirmed our strong commitment to research engagement and impact. It delivers on many of the recommendations of the Watt Review. There are 5 particular initiatives under the innovation agenda that are being delivered through my portfolio. Sharper incentives for engagement, which we hope will drive greater research industry collaboration through new research block grant funding arrangements for universities, which will reward industry and other end-user engagement as well as maintain the quality of our research. Investment in critical research infrastructure, providing a decade of certainty in funding to support the National Research Collaborative Infrastructure Scheme, providing certainty to researchers and users of those facilities that of course underpin so much of our research activity. Initiatives to enhance the measuring impact and engagement in university research. The new measure of university research performance will assess the economic, social and other benefits flowing from universities' research, as well as their engagement with industry and other end users. The Australian Research Council Linkage Project Scheme changes, which will see the Linkage Project Scheme open to continuous applications and decision-making fast-tracked to be more responsive to business needs and other research partner needs and timeframes, so that when you have a prospective business partner who wants to engage with your university, you don't have to wait for a defined application period to get the ball rolling. You can seize the opportunity and get on with the job. And finally, key elements of the Inspiring All Australians in Digital Literacy and STEM measure, to ensure that all young Australians become engaged in the critical areas of digital literacy and science, technology, engineering and mathematics from the very earliest years. The Innovation and Science Agenda starts in preschool through our initiatives and measures to enhance that interest in STEM at the very earliest years of learning. It seeks to build capacity and capability in our schooling system. It seeks then from that, of course, to hopefully encourage more young Australians to contemplate studying science, engineering, mathematics, technology-driven programs at our universities. It seeks to reform the way in which research funding is delivered and the way in which university research activities are measured to maximise the incentives for collaboration without undermining the importance of fundamental research undertakings. And ultimately, it provides incentives for business to invest. Our changes in relation to capital gains tax, to bankruptcy laws, measures that we're putting in place to make it easier to get venture capital, the funds for startups, and to incentivise investment in those startups. It is a full life spectrum in relation to innovation, and it is that full life spectrum that we hope can help drive change in the Australian economy and its transformation from one coming out of a successful mining boom into one that is more diversified in its operations. To realise the benefits from these changes in other parts of our innovation system, we need to ensure we get all of the policy settings right. And IP arrangements should drive a willingness to enter into partnerships and to ensure that these partnerships achieve high impact and are beneficial for all partners. The government is working hard to get IP right. The Productivity Commission is looking into our intellectual property arrangements at a national level and will provide a final report to government this August. and I thank those present who have engaged with this process through the PC. My department will be working with other departments, the publicly funded research organisations and universities to provide advice to government on the merits of broader application of easy access IP. 7 Australian universities, including our hosts today, the UTS, use the easy access IP model, which allows them to make early stage IP or higher risk IP available free of charge through a short and simple one-page agreement. I was pleased to read that the ATN principles encourage this approach where possible. It is important that where industry partners are best placed to commercialise IP, they are given the opportunity to take the lead in doing so. Equally, where universities are best placed to commercialise that or to do so in partnership, that of course should equally be the aspiration as is reflected in the principles endorsed today. Our government is supporting several initiatives to improve IP arrangements, such as the IP Toolkit developed by IP Australia, and the Department of Industry and Science also helped to support collaboration between university and business on IP measures. The Toolkit provides advice on identifying markets and collaborators and negotiating collaborative arrangements. Source IP, an IP Australia website, also allows research institutions to list their patent holdings and signal their licensing intent for Australian businesses to exploit. As mentioned earlier, major elements of the government's response to the Watt Review are being delivered through our innovation agenda, through the National Innovation and Science Agenda. We're working with universities to implement the remaining recommendations, including how competitive grants through the ARC and NHMRC could better identify actual and potential IP to be generated through those projects. It will also be important to look at open access and other kinds of knowledge transfer as part of our work on the new engagement and impact measure. Our aim is to provide more transparent IP arrangements for both universities and their research partners, so that these issues are clear from the very beginning and IP is utilised by those best placed to take ideas forward. I commend the ATN for engaging so productively with this complex and important issue, for taking this major step as the first big reform initiative by a collective group of universities in response to the innovation and science agenda, for recognising that you need to absolutely talk the talk as well as walk the walk, to shift the perceptions of business and industry that universities may be hard places to deal with, to get them to understand that you are eager and willing partners, and indeed my commitment to you is absolutely to convey to industry the willingness and the enthusiasm of our universities to work collaboratively with business. The challenge is finding the right balance, of course, between protecting the rights of creators and ensuring IP is used to create benefit where it can be. In the case of publicly funded research, ensuring that industry and end users are able to access and use intellectual property is particularly important to ensure that we get maximum return on government investment and maximise the benefit for Australia's innovation ecosystem and the broader economy. There is a real need for universities to take a lead in identifying approaches that work for them and their research partners. The development that we're launching today signals that ATN universities are open for business. It sets an important precedent that I hope other universities will follow, and it is a most positive endorsement from universities of the innovation agenda and the centrality of getting our intellectual property arrangements right to get the maximum benefit from our research investment. Congratulations and well done.